the first building was proposed on Linden Corner a couple years ago. I echo much of what has already been said. I helped participate on the brief that Connie has submitted, and I really hope sincerely that you will read it and that you will understand that people who are interested in what's going in on that corner are not unsophisticated lay people, though they may be. They have some very sincere concerns and arguments about the appropriateness of the building height. Excuse me. And I just wanted to say and reiterate that people are concerned. They're not opposed to development. Things change. We have to adapt to change. But I think we all want to see change in an appropriate manner. I think in one of the last meetings that I attended in this front of this body, although there were different people, the comment was made from one of the members that there was some regret on her part that she didn't take it more into consideration, scope and scale, when the Uptown District was being built and built and built and built, and is now unrecognizable to what it was before all the development that went in there. I would just like to say, I think that is a legitimate concern for the people who live in this small area, in this community, that they would like to see something that's an appropriate scale that stays in character with what is currently there. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on the first appeal? Yes. Sure, come on up.
Hi, my name is Maria Nelson. I've been a Linden Hills resident for about 30 years. I've been involved with the first small area plan, which a tremendous amount of work, labor, hours, years of work went into developing that. And it's not really unlike the second small area plan. From my experience, the community has reiterated the same things over and over and over again. And it's not about just a building being built. Any building can be built in Linden Hills, but people come to Linden Hills and come to the Lakes area to get a certain feeling and a certain character. That building, which is fine for some places, maybe Bloomington, Eden Prairie, it's not indicative of Linden Hills. And the more we start having places like that, it's not going to be a node, this little jewel where people can come. That makes money for the city. So there are so many people that would build in that area, and this developer could build something that is appropriate. The frustrating part is that we put so much work into it. We're told by the city to do all this work. We want to hear your voices. I mean, I did so much work. I was given the Minneapolis Award in 1992 by Sharon Sells-Belton. There's so many people that have put so much work, and we believe our representatives, and we were told, do this work. This is how you get protection. This is how you don't have to repeat it over and over again. So we did that again. And if you look at our small area plan, I don't see how this building is in compliance with not one line of it. I mean, I believe the first floor store is like the size of an Apple store, 19 feet tall. And maybe that's changed now. But the storefronts are more like 12 feet tall. And so it's not just about, okay, we've got to get a building there. This isn't a distressed area that we just desperately need something in there right now. I mean, what you guys decide to do is the future of our city.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on the first appeal? Okay, we'll move to the second group. And so would one representative please come up to start that piece?
Hi. Larry Levercombe, 4316 Upton Avenue. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you. So for 10 years, I was the zoning committee chair of Linden Hills, and I chaired all the meetings. And so what I want to do today is talk for a few minutes and tell you the way I see it. I'm not really representing anyone. That said, I was on that zoning committee. I chaired the zoning committee. I was on the small area plan steering committee. And so I've experienced all that. And I want to thank, Constance and Grant and Walt and Kristen, because it really has been a long, hard time. We've been working hard, and I feel like people in city have been working hard. And so I want to call them out for working so hard, for no money. So 3 weeks ago, I spoke to the Planning Commission, and I kind of spoke about democracy. And, the important thing that I said that day was that democracy doesn't work when the people are lied to. And I kind of feel like what I want to say today is there are certainly a number of people who feel like the process didn't work as well as they wanted it to. And I think that I'd like to know more about why that is and what happened, because I was in the middle of it. And I felt like, well, let me say this, because I feel like what I'm bringing today is what I hope is a collaborative thing. And, but I wasn't long ago on this other team. We were all together and they feel really lousy. And I feel like, oh man, well, okay, let's keep going. So all I'm saying is that I think we could all, stand and learn about what went wrong with the small area plan experience. And today we have a different topic, and it's this appeal. So I want to quote from our appeal language very quickly. Our goal is to meet with the city and the developer and the developer's architect to address elements of the building design and its impact on the neighborhood. We believe the result of that collaboration will be a building that is significantly more appreciated by significantly more people. So since we filed that application, we've had community input. We called meetings, we did Facebook, we got, Jeffrey, how much money was sent in by individual checks? Over how much? So, no, but that was in addition to what we needed to raise to pay the thing, right? Okay, so here's what I feel like I want to report. Since we filed the appeal, we've had really great conversations with the Gasson Group, and we feel like there's a lot at stake for a lot of people, and everybody wins if everybody wins, like I said. And so let me talk about the talks with them. We met with them, 7 of us, and we talked about their design, and we talked about what we wanted. And, let me read a couple sentences here. Granted, there were things that we wanted that Linden Hills wanted. There were stuff that we wanted that we didn't come close to getting. And there are elements of this building, this modern design, that people think doesn't fit into Linden Hills. I can understand that argument. I feel like it's, worth talking about. I honestly feel like this building fits better in Hong Kong than Eden Prairie. But I kind of feel like, this building announces itself. And that's what they want to do. And I think that, you can make that cool if it also works as well as that can work in the group, in the community. So, like I said, I don't even know if I said this. I'm not speaking for the community. I'm just speaking for myself right now. But but our experience is that this developer has been willing to listen and been willing to negotiate and talk and spend money. And I think that that is great. And we met with him on a Monday, and on Tuesday, we got new renderings from his architect, and I responded by email, and Clark called me, and we talked for 20 minutes, and then the architect sent me a second new set of renderings that, changed what I feel like is one of the things about the look that has been difficult for people. The modern, really high contrasty black white is getting this kind of red brick feeling without being a red brick building. And so I kind of feel like that's been a plus as far as we have been able to figure out so far. So we're collaborating, and what I want to jump to right this moment is everything that Constance and Walt were talking about, because we have a small area plan right now that is useful, but it's problematic. And I feel like it would be great to figure that out. We have a city that's already announced meetings that there's going to be potential upzoning efforts. You could say the city is poised to upzone certain Linden Hills parcels from C1 to C2, and we want to track with that. So what I want to say this is that, we want a good seat at the table when the discussions begin. We're engaged. I think the argument that we're not obstructionist when it comes to developments in our own neighborhood is fair. We are progressive, we're sophisticated, we're conscious around what works in a walkable, green, more densely populated 21st century community, Minneapolis green community. So back to this building, and I'm working together. Like I said, we've made great progress. And I think these developers want to build something here that the people like. There's really one thing that I feel like our group and they are talking about, and that is first floor ceiling height. And he's already said, I'll go 1. And I'm talking for me. I'd be feeling like 2 feet, Carl, or Clark, and let's do it. I kind of feel like let's get this cool building built in a group feeling and, do our best to move into the new century. We want a pedestrian experience. And we feel like this thing right above us is, I don't know what the virtual perceived height is, 15 feet, but bringing that a little closer, I think, feels better to the pedestrian and to the community that they are. My sense, I want to speak also very briefly about why I like this building, because I kind of feel like it's, we have a group that says 3, not 4. And I'll tell you what I like about this building. One thing is that the old Dwyer building was like this long, and this one is like this long. And so I think that's better.
Mr. Lower-Brookham, could you finish with
Moving
some
on.
final
Sorry, I
thoughts?
hate to be wasting everybody's time here. So yeah, okay. So I think that speaking again for myself and not for the group, I kind of feel like we're heading towards something that's better than where we were heading not very long ago. And I'm glad to hear that. And let's see, do I have anything left? Jeffrey's going to speak next.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on the second appeal? Come on up, state your name and address for the record. And we'll resume the 2-minute time frame.
Yes, good afternoon. Good morning, excuse me. My name is Jeffrey Magnuson. I've been a resident of Linden Hills since 1990. I live at 3010 West 43rd Street. I am a practicing architect. I'm going to speak to the height issue because the height is one of the very big concerns that I have about this building. What can be done about this? Staff in their staff report has indicated on 2 occasions, staff encourages the applicant to reduce the height of the first floor below 19 feet. I totally agree with staff. I feel that 19 feet in this building is excessive. And why do I feel that? Is because I feel Linden Hills is a neighborhood with retail and commercial areas with pedestrian-friendly, moderate first-floor ceiling heights. I have personally done a survey with my tape measure and found ceiling heights in the first-floor retail shops vary, but they're in the range of 12 to 12 foot 6 inches height. And that includes clear height. That would include lighting. That also includes ductwork. That is why I feel the 19-foot proposed floor height should be reduced to a maximum of 16 feet. 12 feet to the ceiling, not 14 as the architects have talked about. And that would leave 4 feet for structure and acoustical separation. At 16 feet, the building would be reduced in height from 53 to 50 foot high. Now, how to get this done? I feel there needs to be some type of official language in the public record, because having the planning staff encourage the height reduction does not obligate the developer to do anything. I urge you, P&Z members, in your written narrative for this appeal to call upon the developer and architect to reduce the height on the first floor to a maximum of 16 feet as one way to reduce the building ceiling height, total building height. And that is all I have. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Nope.
No?
Would anyone else like to speak? Anyone else who hasn't spoken yet? Is there anyone else who would like to speak who hasn't spoken? Come on up.
Madam Chair, if I'm clear, we are going through the list of speakers at this point. Is this just on this appeal or second appeal?
We ended up not going in the order. So if anyone would like to speak, just come on up, state your name and address for the record, and it will be part of the full public record. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the council, my name is John Pacheco, and I live on 3900 Upton Avenue South. I understand the importance of this node, and as most of you in your districts have a node where you have four corners and they're very personable to everyone. I cross this node constantly. My daughter goes to school on 45th and Upton. I'm on 39th and Upton. And we spend a lot of time there. I choose to shop at that Ace Hardware. It costs me a little more, but it's better than going to the Home Depot. And I think this is an important discussion to have. And I really, actually, to my opinion, I commend the staff and the developer to working hard on this project. It's quite different than what was proposed before. I think each of these nodes have a value in the sense that it takes all of us to support them. It takes homeowners, it takes rental, it takes commercials. And I think the project as presented does that. I think they bring together all of those elements. I think it's very helpful to the community. And what fears me the most, though, about the project is not the project itself, is that there's nothing after this. I mean, this piece of property has been sitting there with a cyclone fence on it now for a couple of years, and there's no developers beating down our door to put something else in there, and we'll be back again next year and the year after. So I think we have a viable project here that complies with what has been stated, has the necessary requirements, that complies with the movement of the property, even that little pocket park. It may not seem significant to folks, but that's an important element that had a little piano, and my daughters would come and play that thing. And I think that there are some elements here, and I think just to speak against it here doesn't do anyone good. I understand some of the points, but if I walk from my house on 39th to 44th in Upton, I pass old Victorian houses like mine. I pass craftsman houses, but I also pass these very modern houses that are built by elevation, like almost every other block. And so the neighborhood is changing. And just to comply to an old view of what it was is not acceptable. I think right now we have a great piece of property. We have a developer they have a developers working with the neighborhood, working with staff, and I urge your support of the project itself.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Come on up, state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Ashok Darwal. I live at 4548 Vincent Avenue South. I'm going to speak to supporting the project from a couple of perspectives. One is as a longtime resident there for 16 years. I have seen Linden Hills, actually, I think the energy and the excitement has actually gone down of the downtown area. There's many vacancies from a business perspective, more so than I've ever seen. the attraction for other people from coming outside is not there. There's nothing that's super attractive compared to 50th and France and other areas, Excelsior and Grand. So I think as a resident, to have a local developer that has proven to not only work with this group of people here, but also in projects that exist, the walkway and the Edgewater that I've seen very closely, those are very good properties. So I think we're actually lucky to have a local developer, a local ownership versus an outside group to come in and really try to take charge of understanding this. Obviously, there's economics behind it, right? So that's why they need to do what they need to do that. I'll switch gears as a local business owner who owns the Yoga Fits in town. I personally was surprised that they would come even down from 15 feet to 14 feet because our studios are all 15 feet high. So as a tenant, there's a lot of things that this building is doing that's very attractive to me as a business owner that I would actually want to go into those spaces. You start making that building shorter, less dense, less apartments, the whole rental from a retail perspective gets less attractive and thus brings in less people to come in. So from a business perspective, I think what they're doing is good to get really good retail tenants to come in. And I was involved in the prior project as well and helped redesign the entire floor plan for them with retail in mind. So I think to get the energy that Linden Hills used to have a long time ago, we need this building and the density it has to attract the retailers and people that are willing to pay for those units.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak?
Hi, my name is David Higgins. I live on 2700 West 44th Street in Linden Hills. I've lived in Linden Hills since 2005. And I'm just here as a concerned resident, as many of us are. And I've seen, since 2005, I've seen good change in the neighborhood. And I think, I support development, but I support respectful development. And I'm thankful that the developer is willing to meet with us and incorporate some of our wishes and be open to listening and negotiating changes. I think my biggest concern is, with this property, it's a very big focal point. So it's a very important corner in the Linden Hills neighborhood, the main street there, and it's what you see when you come in, and it's what you see when you go out. So that's why this project is so important to us in the neighborhood. Also, just in regards to the retail, I would hope the retail would be something that would stay true to the neighborhood, small business, family-owned, independent. It really hurt me to see a CVS pharmacy or something go in there. And finally, with this whole third floor, fourth floor cup possible change, I would like to just reiterate, with all the work that we put in the small area plan, I think it's very important for for the neighborhood to be involved in that. We don't want to have to keep coming back and back and back for every project that's going to be done in the neighborhood. And I really hope that the council will consider us as a neighborhood and be willing to negotiate with us in the future and not have to keep doing this over and over and over again. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Anyone else?
I'm speaking to both appeals. My name is Sarah-Lynn Romanishin, and I live at 22nd and Aldrich South. I'm here because the decisions made for one corner of our city affect the whole city. The rules of the game have changed. Everyone in this room knows that they have changed. Everyone live streaming and watching this video later will know that the rules have changed. The rules have changed in the back rooms at city departments like CPED and in this chamber. They have changed without the input, full awareness, and the permission of the majority of the people in this city. The rules of the game have changed so much that it is no longer a game. I support these two appeals because they are the will of the people. The question before you today is about an appeal regarding a development. The choices you make today are about much more. Will you uphold the appeals and deny the CUP, variances, and site plan review for 4364 Upton and listen to the heartfelt pleas of the people standing before you? Or will you vote to uphold an agenda not approved by the citizens of this city? I ask that you choose to uphold the appeals. The public stands before you, telling you what we want, what we need, and this is our city, our home. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Come on up, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Glenn Rank, and I live at 3020 West 43rd Street, right on Xerxes and 43rd Street, a couple of blocks down from the proposed development. I was at the meeting a week and a half ago where we discussed this particular appeal. I think the appeals are interrelated. I think they're talking about the same thing in a lot of ways. I think the consensus at that meeting was that this building that is proposed does not meet the plan and is not what the neighbors in Linden Hills are looking for or fit into Linden Hills. And we're talking about a legacy building. This is probably the most prominent intersection in the community, in the small community there. And we're talking about a building that's going to be there for a long, long time and is going to help identify what exactly that is. So whatever is approved and whatever goes in there is going to have a large impact on the neighborhood. It seems obvious to me at this point in time that the people in the neighborhood are not satisfied with what's going in there now. I would think it would seem obvious to you at this point in time that the people in the neighborhood are not satisfied with what's going in there now. I commend Larry for working with the developer. I think that's great. I don't know that the changes they're proposing come even close to what the neighbors are looking for or what would actually fit into that neighborhood and create something that will work in that neighborhood. I would say over and above anything else, I mean, this is a historic neighborhood and we're talking about the most prominent corner there. I don't think that this is not the east side of Detroit. We're not going to have to look forever to find a development there. And of course, any developer is going to try to put something in that they believe is going to make the most money for them on. But if I look at this closely, what I see is that it can be improved on a ton. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Anyone else? We're just going to have each person speak one time in order to have time.
By law to speak on the second appeal, which is separate from the one that I spoke on previously.
Sure. We can have our city attorney speak to the public hearings rules.
Madam Chair and committee members, I believe it would be within the chair's discretion to limit the testimony as the appeals are on the same subject matter.
Thank you. Would anyone else who hasn't spoken like to speak?
I would ask
anyone else?
Speaking, I have a new topic. It's not repeating anything that anybody.
And we've had a significant amount of testimony about this item, and I'm going to close the public hearing unless anyone else who hasn't spoken would like to speak.
I'm hoping that the two appellants can just have one last little moment.
No, we have had lots of moments of testimony, so I'm going to close the public hearing.
Slide I showed.
I'm going to close the public hearing. We appreciate the comments that we have heard and have given a significant amount of time for public testimony. I have closed the public hearing. And Councilmember Reich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Obviously, a lot of attention has been put to this on all party sides. We do have some conditions that were designed to address this through the staff work and through the Planning Commission. I wish to move to further refine those conditions to get the project closer to the different parties' discussion points. And as you have before you, I will move to deny the appeals to approve the staff recommendations to adopt the conditional use permit to increase the maximum allowed height from the permitted 3 stories to the 42 feet 4 stories to 4 feet 11 inches, subject to the following amended conditions. And those conditions stand from the Planning Commission. However, I strike condition number 2
And I add a condition 4 that reads the first floor may not exceed 18 feet in height.
Okay, Councilmember Reich has moved to deny the appeals with the conditions stated in the item before us. Does anyone have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in approval, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? That carries. We do have one more item on our agenda today, which is a review of last year's amendments to our 1 to 4 unit residential buildings. I will have staff present that item. I think Councilmember Palmisano will be joining us for this discussion as the author of that change.
Thank you, Chair Bender and committee members. So a year ago, this committee and the City Council adopted a comprehensive set of zoning code changes addressing lower density residential tear down and infill development. This is quite literally a one-year update, as although the Council took action in August, the regulations took effect October 1st of 2014, exactly 1 year ago today. In the spring of 2014, CPED had convened a cross-department staff team to look at ordinance changes addressing teardowns and new construction. Those revisions were drafted relatively quickly, but in conjunction with a significant amount of engagement with the community, with various staff departments, and as well as architects and builders. Ultimately, the City Planning Commission public hearing resulted in